From BLC Studios in Mankato, Minnesota, this is the Maverick Hockey Live Podcast, presented by Dunkin, with your host, Shane Frederick.
This is the Maverick Hockey Live Podcast, presented by Dunkin. My name is Shane Frederick. I'm the host, and today joining me is Minnesota State sophomore defenseman Akito Hirose. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Welcome. A little bit about Akito real quick. He is a Calgary native, correct?
Yep.
And he's got 16 points through last weekend's games, through Hockey Day, which incidentally was 28 games into a season, which is how many you played as a freshman, and you're 1 point ahead of your freshman year pace. And as a freshman, you were WCHA Rookie of the Year, third team All WCHA, had an excellent first season of college hockey in the weird COVID year, played in front of 0 fans, 25 fans, 250 fans, whatever it might have been, but certainly a special year as you guys got to the Frozen Four. So, what's the transition been like going from your freshman year to your sophomore year? Seems like you're off to another pretty good start. It seems like it might be a little quieter just because it seems like you have 7 defensemen who can play, just all night, every night. And there's not a lot of difference between any of you, it seems sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we have 9 defensemen that can play. It just depends who's going, who's having a good week of practice. But the transition from first year to second year, I'd say really, I mean, coming from junior, it wasn't too bad either. The transition, I thought the pace was a little bit quicker, but other than that, I'd say just I feel a little more comfortable around the rink with what's going on, like knowing what practice is going to be like, what the schedule is going to be like, travel, stuff like that. So it's basically just comfort, getting used to things, which is really helped my game a lot, I'd say.
And when you came in as a freshman, I mean, I think there was, I don't know how much pressure was on you, and you can speak on that, but certainly there was a lot of hype in terms of both you and Jake Livingstone coming in as 2 very high scoring defensemen from the BCHL, who get inserted into the lineup right away, having to replace some pretty good players who had left from the year before, and really both fit right in right away. And that seems to continue a little bit this year. Was there a lot of pressure as a freshman, knowing that you came in with, you had a lot of points in your pocket from the BC days?
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know what Hasty told him, but I know he told me before I even came in that there's going to be an opportunity to play. We're going to throw you right in the deep end, and which he did. But it was kind of nice with COVID. We got 3 months before our first game, so kind of like get up to pace in practice. Because I'd say our practices at least are as hard, if not harder, than the games, I find at least. But pressure-wise, I'd say not really, to be honest.
Not when you're thrown into a power play right away or anything like that. And
well, I actually found it a little bit easier because, I mean, you're passing to guys like Nathan Smith and Julian Napravnik. I mean, you don't really have to do much, to be honest. Like, you put it in their wheelhouse, it's going to the back of the net.
Keep it in the zone, get it to Julian or get it to Nathan, right?
Yeah, that's the game plan. That's our power play right there.
It's worked pretty well so far, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Or Cade Borchert will tip one in.
Sure.
Steal my goals from me.
That's why you only have 2?
Yeah. Well, technically 1. I believe he actually tipped the one in St. Thomas.
Oh, is that right?
So he'll probably get credit for
that. That hasn't gotten changed yet?
No, not yet. We'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens.
At some point, it just becomes prideful. You don't need the goals, right? Just more assists. Just keep racking them up, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess makes the guys like me more, maybe. At least Jules, I know I give him a couple on that right side there, so I know he's a big fan of me at least.
And he's going to hold on to the puck for a while, too, after you give it to him, right? So that kind of almost guarantees that at least you'll get that second assist if he's going to finally dish it.
Yeah. And if he passes to me, then I'll just pass it over to Smitty, and Smitty will score.
It's a simple game plan. If anybody's listening, that just try to stop it, right? Everybody knows what's coming, but it's just a matter of trying to stop it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if someone can.
Last year you mentioned, just, getting used to things with the COVID year. And I've asked a lot of guys about that this year, and, playing in front of the crowds, playing in front of the Mankato crowds. I don't know when you took a visit here, previously, what the crowd was like, and then you're playing in front of an empty building, and then you finally get to play, in front of a big crowd. What was that like, right away at the beginning of the season to kind of get that real sense of college hockey that you might not have gotten quite the same last year?
It was absolutely unbelievable. Coming from Salmon Arm, I think we had about max 1,500 fans probably. And then last year we kind of trickled more and more people in as the season went on. But we started the year in UMass, which was, I don't know what the attendance was, but that place was buzzing.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen before. So that really gave me a good experience of what college hockey is actually supposed to be like. And then coming back to Mankato and experiencing our building, our fans, how we actually do stuff was incredible. The electricity that the fans bring to the building is so big for us, and our energy on the bench and just throughout the game. So it was absolutely unbelievable to be a part of this.
I think about that Minnesota Duluth game between Christmas and New Year's, where students came back to town, and I'm sure you guys gave them a reason to come back. New Year's Eve was the next night. People had a reason to stick around town. But a lot of times those games over the holidays, it's kind of quiet. It's kind of just that downtime. And even if you're playing a good opponent, that people have a hard time, just finding ways. Families leave for youth hockey tournaments. Families go on vacation. People go out of town for the holidays. Everyone came back home to Mankato, it seemed, or came back to Mankato if they were students, and filled up that building for what ended up being a great hockey game for you guys. And I'm sure the St. Cloud series was similar, but that Minnesota Duluth game, what was that like, just to kind of get that atmosphere at that time of the year when you just normally don't see that?
Yeah, I mean, it was great energy in the building, obviously against a great opponent, but I think I can't recall any time at any point during this year where the crowd wasn't there. No matter who we've been playing,
sure,
good, bad, whatever their record is, the fans always show up and they always show out.
Well, I'm going to have to ask you, speaking of crowds, about Hockey Day Minnesota, which was an unbelievable atmosphere, unbelievable event that was put on and pulled off by the folks around here. What was it like to play in that game, being on the outdoor rink? We had David Celia on last week, and, he was kind of the hero getting the hat trick. Canadian guy, you're a Canadian guy. You hear from the Minnesotans about Hockey Day Minnesota and that sort of thing. But, what was your impression of that event, of playing in it and playing in those conditions?
I mean, it was incredible. Obviously, the Minnesotans, it's a bigger deal for them. But for us Canadians, or at least me specifically, I've grown up playing on the outdoor rink my whole life. There's probably 3 or 4 within 5 minutes of my house back home. So to actually play in a real game and actually take a real hit, maybe block a shot in the freezing cold is it's an experience for sure. But yeah, unbelievable job putting that on.
How did you manage the snow? I mean, we talked earlier about, playing that defensive role. I mean, you got to kind of find pucks. You guys block a lot of shots. You got to protect your goaltender, Dryden McKay, probably even more, just because I know the goaltender seemed to, whether it was because of the wind or the snow on the ice where the puck disappeared, they're fighting it, trying to find it. You guys are doing the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The snow definitely played a big factor out there. I mean, there's one time I think it was Jake Livingstone on the power play, got a pass, went for the one-timer, and I remember talking to him after the game. He said he thought he scored, and then someone from the bench was like, it's behind you. Turns around, look, the puck's in the corner. So snow definitely played a big factor. It's more kind of just whacking the puck around out there, but great time.
And, everyone worries that that's going to be kind of that equalizing factor between two teams. And, at one point it's a 2-1 game, and they ring one off the post. It could have been 2-2, and then it's game on, no matter who your opponent is, right? So even if it's first place against 8th place in the CCHA, that can make it a little tough. Where do you think that game kind of turned in your favor?
I mean, both teams are playing in the same conditions, so yeah, I mean,
So you still hope your advantages are the same, just a little bit different?
yeah. Everybody's going through the same stuff. At the end of the day, everyone feels like a kid out there playing on the outdoor rink and just having fun. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's great, and it's so weird how to find ways for players to, you got to take it seriously. There's 3 points on the line. There's you got to find a way to win that game, but also try to have fun in a way that's kind of brings you back to, like you said, your childhood skating outdoors and trying to balance those two things. You guys were able to do it pretty well, it seemed.
Yeah, no. I mean, in warm-up, I don't think there was one time where I wasn't smiling, laughing, chuckling, skating around. I mean, the snow started coming down, but at that point, it didn't matter. I was having too much fun.
You guys gave a lot of shout-outs and stick taps to the ice crew, the high school kids who were out there skating and getting that thing shoveled off. And certainly by the third period, the snow was really piled up pretty high for them to get it off the rink.
Yeah, I mean, they had to come out at least 4 or 5 times a period. You're sitting there, you're cold, and it's like, come on, let's go. But then at the end, it's like, well, they're freezing cold too. So it's, you know what, good job, good on you.
We were talking before we started recording that your brother is Taro Hirose, professional player in the Red Wings organization right now. Has been called up for a few games here and there. Very good player at Michigan State, the other MSU in college hockey. And I believe was he Big Ten Player of the Year his final year college hockey, I believe. So is that, talk about your relationship with him in terms of, do you compare yourself to him college hockey wise? Do you grow up playing together? What was that like?
Yeah, he's probably my biggest role model in when it comes to hockey. I mean, I started playing D about 4 years ago. Okay. 4 or 5 years ago. It was my second year junior, but before that I played forward my whole life, so I kind of emulated my game after him, learned a lot from him. We never played on the same team competitively, I guess, but every time we skated together in the summer, it was pretty obvious that we had some pretty good chemistry. So, I mean, if there ever comes an opportunity where I could potentially play with him, that'd be great. But I think the dynamic of our relationship would be more playing against each other and competing against each other.
Sure. Were you able to watch many of his games as a college player? You probably had games going on at the same time a lot.
Yeah, we went down there a couple times. It was good to see the campus because I was still in junior hockey and was still debating on where I was going to go play college. So it was cool to kind of see Michigan State and their whole campus. And then we actually got to go to New York to watch his first NHL game at MSG. So that was an unreal experience.
Oh, that's that would be very cool.
Yeah, no, that place is something else. MSG is a great place to play.
That's the mecca, right? It's the sports. Anybody who plays a sport, that's where they want to play somehow. I know I think there was a college hockey game there a couple of years ago. I think was it North Dakota maybe was involved, and yeah, that would have been, it'd probably be a good thing for you guys to get in on.
Yeah, great experience. Great experience.
So tell me a little bit about how you ended up at Minnesota State. So your brother went to Michigan State. You probably you're following in his footsteps in terms of being a college player a little bit. When you're being recruited, what turned things toward coming to Mankato?
Well, the trainer I had in Salmon Arm it was Brett Knowles, and he was a former Mankato alumni.
Sure.
So he kind of put, I believe it was Darren Blue, onto me.
Okay.
And then a couple months later, Todd Knott came out, watched. I started talking to them. They flew me down, saw the place, saw the campus, the rink. I knew a lot about the culture here, and they just kept winning every year, kept checking the rankings, number 1, number 2, number 3. They're in the top 5 every year. So I believe the winning culture was probably the biggest thing. Just the whole culture and the coaching staff. You can't say enough about the coaching staff. Mike Hastings, obviously one of the greatest college hockey coaches. And then you look at just the team they already had here, especially with Dryden McKay. I mean, as a D-man, I feel like a lot of D-man have a special relationship with their goalie.
Mm-hmm.
And just watching that guy, I mean, I'm speechless. Like, I can't even put my thoughts together talking about that guy. But yeah, that was probably the biggest factor, was the culture.
It's interesting. And like you said, you'd seen a Big Ten campus, you'd seen other places, I'm sure, in the recruiting process. It's interesting as a person who covered this program for 20 years to see how it kind of, where it's put itself as a program. And a lot of credit to Mike Hastings for what he's done and putting it there where it's become that kind of factor where everyone kind of knows, about the Mavericks now.
Yeah, no, definitely a team on the rise. And I mean, I guess right now we're at the top, I'd say, but not a lot of teams talk to me, actually, now that you bring it up.
Okay.
So I was kind of a little bit of a dime in the rough, I'd say, and they kind of just saw something in me, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. Was your brother a drafted player?
No.
Okay. So he came out, he was a free agent out of college, and which is a big factor too. I mean, that's something that, Minnesota State has produced a lot of those type of players too. They come in a little older, obviously, like yourself, and come in and make a name for themselves. And everyone in town, worries and hopes everyone sticks around as long as possible.
Yeah. Another thing was I saw the great D that have came out of Mankato. You start with Daniel Brickley. I mean, before his time, Casey Nelson, and then most recently Connor Mackey. Mm-hmm. And hopefully up next, Jack McNeely, my D partner, my guy. But yeah, just the development on the defensive side of the puck and just the overall game development system that they do with their defensemen was a big factor as well.
How do you feel like you've developed in that time and in that system?
Well, I think I always had, because playing forward my whole life, I've always had the offensive instincts. I think it was more the defensive side, defensive positioning, which I think Hasty has done a great job just teaching me about my stick, teaching me about where my body position needs to be. And that's just made a big change in my game.
And, and I think your offensive skills are starting to rub off on your D partner a little bit with what Jack's done the last few games, making some plays, a couple dekes the other night, with a little dish off to Nathan Smith for that goal, and getting another goal on Hockey Day. I mean, or on that weekend, and and being, I think he was Defensive Player of the Week after the Hockey Day weekend. So
yeah, I think he's always had it, and I actually think that's his first Defenseman of the Week award. So that's good on him.
Well, he's just one of those. They always say, the defensemen they only get the awards when they score a lot of points. It seems so. It's probably unfair since that's not exactly what the position is titled, but Jack's been patient for now 4.5 years.
I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is.
Yeah, I think I called him earlier this year. There was a question on Twitter about who the most underrated players on each team were of the people who covered different teams, and I mentioned Jack McNeely. I just think that for a fifth-year guy to come back and be kind of just that steady guy in the back, and just a good guy who I think the team seems to respect a lot too.
Yeah, great leader as well.
You can learn a lot from him. So when he's gone after being here as long as he has, unless he's got eligibility left somehow.
You never know, right? You never know. No, but he's been playing with him for 2 years now. It's been he's been my rock, kind of stable guy back there, and just playing with a guy for more than 1 year, you get to build some chemistry, know where he's going to be, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. And you got to be careful now. He's going to end up with more goals than you.
I hope not. We'll see. No, I told him I'm transitioning my game. I'm going to start being a goal scorer now. So watch out for that.
Yeah, because he's not shooting the puck looking for tips quite like you are, or hoping something gets through, right? So
yeah, no, I guess I just got to start passing to him more. Actually, after his one against Ferris State where he went end to end there and fed it back door to Smitty, comes back to the bench. He's a humble guy, so he's trying to be all humble, not crack a smile, nothing. And then finally he looks at me and he goes, "Finally, you give me a hinge pass." So I'm thinking in my head, I'm trying not to laugh. I'm like, all right, let's start giving this guy some passes. See what he's going to do.
Oh, that's pretty great. Pretty great. Good guy. And it's cool to see, how much the players seem to just respect each other and work together with that chemistry. It's just something I've noticed, doing this podcast week after week and listening to guys talk about other players on the team, to talk about Dryden McKay, and just a lot of respect there up and down your lineup.
Yeah, up and down the lineup. I think there's no one guy on the team that I could say something bad about. I think we're a great team. We mesh well together, great relationships on and off the ice. So, I mean, we're a real tight-knit group.
Sounds good. Well, hey, I really appreciate you joining us. Before we go, I have to mention, I know you guys are a strong team, but I got to mention that you have 2 Hobie Baker candidates, and there's a fan vote going on right now. So Nathan Smith and Dryden McKay are both on the Hobie watch list. So if anyone wants to go vote, you can go to msumavericks.com/Hobie, Hobey, and check that out, and give them a little bit of a fan vote. It's a small percentage, but gets people excited. And you can also, I don't know how long this is going on, but if it's continuing, msumavericks.com/HDM jerseys, you can go to the auction for the jerseys that the players wore on Hockey Day, which were outstanding.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So, look for that number 2, Akito Hirose, and put your bid in. Thanks so much for joining again. Appreciate you coming on. This has been the Maverick Hockey Live podcast presented by Dunkin. He's Akito Hirose. I'm Shane Frederick. We'll see you next time.